everyone. We welcome all the panelists and participants to this online panel discussion on harnessing the potential of artificial intelligence in law, possibilities and challenges, organized by Delhi Metropolitan Education's Law School, Noida, as a part of the National Conference on Artificial Intelligence and Law, a close interface. Before we begin the session, I request all the participants to put themselves on mute and switch off their cameras. Today, we have amidst us some of the experts and veterans in the field of artificial intelligence and law. In order to elevate this academic conference further, may I introduce our panelists for the day. We have Mr. Atul Tripathi. He is a veteran in the field of AI and data science. Mr. Atul Tripathi has held the position of Big Data and AI Consultant in National Security Council Secretariat, Prime Minister's Office, New Delhi. He also worked in the field of application of AI for national security there. Mr. Atul is an advisor for setting up Data Science Center at IISc Mohali. Mr. Atul is advisor to various academic councils to a number of universities and has taught AI, data analytics, and data science in various Indian and foreign universities. We also have Mr. Rajesh Velakyat. Mr. Rajesh is a partner at Foxamandal Associates, one of the leading law firms in India, and also leads the technology and startup team there. He also oversees the corporate governance and capital market division. He's an expert in intellectual property, IT laws, data privacy and e-commerce, investments and security law, extensively worked with tech entities in the retail, fashion, finance, and defense sectors, has publications in a number of reputed journals and newspapers. We have with us Mr. Gaurav Srivastava, one of the youngest entrepreneurs working in the field of AI. He is a co-founder and CEO of Pensive, an Indian AI legal startup, and also the co-founder of Zimber, a home service startup. Mr. Gaurav comes from an engineering background with an expertise in strategic management and is one of the promising personalities in India in the field of AI. We have with us Ms. Neha J. Ms. Neha is a partner at Sai Krishna and Associates. She's an expert lawyer in IT laws, cross-border IP violations, and multi-jurisdictional arbitrations, information technology, intermediary liability, online piracy, and related techno-legal issues, etc. And IP-related antitrust issues are her areas of specialization. We have also with us shortly joining Mr. Harjot Singh, who specializes in immigration, asylum, and public law, together with international litigation and arbitration. Mr. Harjot has 19 years of professional experience in corporate and litigation before the Honorable Supreme Court of India and Honorable High Courts in India, and also has 14 years experience in the United Kingdom High Courts. Currently, Mr. Harjot is a director with Twinwood Law Practice Limited. I also acknowledge the gracious presence and welcome Mr. Aman Sani, Vice Chairman, Delhi Metropolitan Education, Honorable Mr. Justice Bhavar Singh, Director General, DME and retired Judge, Allahabad High Court, Professor Dr. Ravikant Swami, Director, DME, Professor Dr. Bhavish Gupta, Head of Academics, DME Law School, and all the dignitaries and participants present here. We have with us today Ms. Bedpriya Lahiri, who will be the moderator of the discussion. Ms. Bedpriya has an industrial experience working with leading law firms like Amarchand Mangaldas, and her areas of specialization are intellectual property laws and corporate law. Thank you. Over to Bedpriya.
Thank you, ma'am. And I welcome all the panelists and the dignitaries and the audience to this panel discussion. As we know that the interface between artificial intelligence and law is becoming very significant, as human lives are always closely connected with law. So by that logic, artificial intelligence is also becoming an essential part of our human life. And it is presumed that in future, it will have significant influence on the legal system. Already there we have artificial intelligence companies that are finding ways for developing a technology that could manage more laborious tasks in different industries for better speed and accuracy. So in legal profession, AI has already found its way into supporting lawyers and clients and alike. So with this premise in mind, I would now like to begin this discussion and first invite Mr. Rajesh Velakyat, partner, Fox and Mandal Associates. And sir, we welcome you to today's panel. And I would like to ask you, based on what our theme is, Can AI practically be applied in law? You are a part of a leading law firm in this country. And can you please share any instance or experience where you feel that AI has been useful in legal service and corporate sector? Over to you, sir.
Thank you for inviting me to this program, and thank you, Vedapriya, thank you, Sri Durga. Um, so the question is very simple, whether AI is applied in law. Definitely yes, the answer is very simple. But what is AI? How it is used? Is it replacing human beings? At the current levels, no. It is automating processes. It is automating in adjudication. So if you were asking about examples of when AI has been used, I can give you a simple example. I got a notice from indirect tax department saying that I haven't paid GST. How it has happened? It has happened because they automated the data sets of the direct and indirect tax portals. They understood that I have reasonably good amount of income tax, but there is no corresponding GST entries. So two sets of data sets, they merged together and they arrived at an intelligence, assuming that this person is an evader. And not only to me, I think many of the lawyers in India got simultaneously notices from indirect tax department. So this is an application of AI. And this is also an example when AI has failed, because AI failed to capture the element that for lawyers, it is reverse charge mechanism. It's not, lawyers are not directly required to pay the tax. It is the recipient of services has to pay the tax. So if AI data sets are not adequately capturing who is the assessee and why he hasn't paid a tax, and what is the distinguishing feature from him from other assessees. So if the entire data set is not rightly fed, you may end up in a very erroneous decision, and that resulted in thousands of notices going to large number of lawyers. And there is a proceeding pending in Mumbai High Court now against income tax department harassing lawyers on this count. So this is an application of AI. I can give you many similar instances where AI is used, but you need to get confused, should not get confused that it is a machine deciding on certain things. It's not. It is essentially application of heuristics. Different sets of data elements are analyzed, and the past precedents are taken into account. And based on that, there are some kind of outcomes are predicted. So this exactly is what AI is in the simplest form. It is not in terms of, it is not replacing the human brains. It is merely an application of automation of certain processes. So am I sufficiently answered by the Priya, or anything else you want?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. You have rightly said, sir, that it is not replacing humans, but it is an automation of processes. Taking this thought forward, I would now invite Mr. Gaurav Srivastava, I think, who will be able to guide us the best in this sense about practical experience where the AI is practically getting applied in law. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, and thanks for making me part of this panel. So yeah, it's an interesting question about AI. So I'll tell you the real life experience. I started a company way back in 2017. When we started the company, we were young guys, so we also wanted to build an AI lawyer kind of a thing. But the fact is that in our journey, we had our own disappointments to say when we started thinking of building an AI lawyer. But did we achieve things? Yes, we did achieve multiple things, and I will let you know what are the kind of things that we achieved. So, for example, right now only for one of the clients, as a Government of India client, we have built an Alexa kind of a system on their legal document. So we consumed all their legal literature, and we built an Alexa kind of system where somebody can ask question in a natural language, and the answer will be fetched from the system. Earlier, it was supposed that somebody should go inside the book, read the book, have certain kind of what you can say marker in his aid, and find those answers from the book. Now, no, you don't need to go inside the book and what you can say, spend that much time. So this we have built it. Now it is an AI system. Yes, it is an AI system because it is able to understand queries in natural language. we have built a machine learning system to fetch answer out of the question. So yes, it's an AI dependent system. But again, so this is something that we achieved. So I tell you where we kind of failed. So one of the interesting thing is that the moment we will start thinking that AI will replace human being, we are going to, what you can say, face disappointment, at least at this period of a time, right? Like 10 or 20 years down the line, things may change. But the moment we start thinking, the other problem that I saw in my 4 years of existence in legal industry is that most of the AI or the machine learning that we have been, what you can say, that we are consistently being exposed to is about finding patterns. Whereas legal as a profession is about finding anomalies. So your machine learning algorithms is not solving the basic problem, because we built a product in legal research also. But the point is, in legal research, and we were doing we were doing case mining and everything. But the thing is that there we were trying to finding patterns. And most of the time when we used to find patterns, we used to give the results which were the most prominent one. And that the lawyer used to say that I also know. So for example, if I give a case, I don't know much about legal, I don't come from legal industry, but if I give an answer of case one and Bharti case, so everybody knows, like that such that doesn't solve the problem. So somebody told me that so this is a very interesting use case, and obviously my system was not able to work here. So I was talking to a lawyer, and she was a lady, and the interesting problem was that her maid, she was married before 18, and she has given some dowry. And at the age of 25, she was getting divorced. Now she wanted the dowry back, but the problem was her marriage was not null and void. So she was thinking, now I want to search this kind of case where I am, what you can say, merging multiple level of complexities, and then I want to get search result. Like I don't want to get those search results where I know the case. Like, okay, for that I have got my product out there. So the point here is that most of the ML algorithms are about finding patterns, whereas the difficult problem in the legal research kind of a thing, it becomes finding anomalies. So to sum it all up, I have spent 4 years, and the problems areas where they say that AI or a machine learning is applicable is e-discovery, where you go inside huge amount of data and try to find out try to find out some kind of pattern. And there are big companies in e-discovery. Legal research, obviously there is a huge amount of application of AI in legal research. There is an application of AI in contract management, and there is an application of AI in document management. So these are the areas where there is an application of AI, because these are the areas which are data intensive. And the point that in simple terms that I want to say is that wherever a lawyer is spending his time reading through data or going through tons and tons of data and finding things which are not unique, but which has got a certain kind of a pattern, AI will definitely replace it as soon as possible.
All right, sir. All right. Thank you so much. You have pointed out that mostly in instances where we have data intensive cases, AI becomes useful. But yes,
but decision making part, it's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
And legal as an industry is very human knowledge skill specific industry. I don't see that happening. Like this would happen at most, like I believe legal will be the last industry to be replaced by a robot, if robot replace doctor and engineer and construction, everyone.
All right. Okay. Right, sir. So next I would like to invite Mr. Atul Tripathi. Sir, we cannot see you on screen. If you could please switch on your video for us.
Am I visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And welcome to DME, sir.
Oh, great. Hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, first of all.
So we are very honored to have you here with us
Thank
today.
you.
So, sir, we had begun the discussion and we were talking if can AI practically be applied in law? You have such a huge amount of work that you have done in this field. What do you have to say on this theme? Can we harness the potential of AI in law?
So, first thing, I would request that I would like to go, stop my camera because there may be a bandwidth problem. So, apologies for that. I would like to stop the camera just in order to save my bandwidth.
Sure, sir. Sure. Okay.
Apologies for that, first of all. So, coming back to your question regarding whether AI can be used in legal frameworks or not, well, I agree with both Mr. Rajesh and Mr. Gaurav on both the points. It's primarily about e-discovery of documents. Right now, we are only scratching the surface. Now, you see, I would like to go back to the fundamentals of the game. See, what is artificial intelligence? Let's look at the word itself before we even proceed what the technology is all about. Artificial intelligence is something called there is a very important operative word out there: intelligence. Right? How do you define intelligence? How do you define that? That's the biggest problem that every human being has grappled since time immemorial and will continue to do so even after we have gone. Let me be very, very frank. Now, let me come back to another fact of life, and this is a medically proven fact that a human being is not able to extract more than 10% of his brain power. That's a fact, right? We all agree on that. So that means potentially 90% of our brain is not being utilized throughout our lifetime. That's the fact. So now here we are trying to mimic a system which we think will be in a position to take all the decisions on our behalf, and that too intelligently. So you are facing two dilemmas. One is the word intelligence itself, and two is how do you extract the potential of your 100% of your brain. So do we as human beings understand our 100% potential? We don't. Neither are we able to define intelligence. So that game of artificial intelligence is the most abused word, I would say. And this is coming from a technologist myself. It's the most abused word in today's world. We are just trying to organize information and trying to have a system which can have a better retrieval. See, let me give you one interesting fact that Google is the best search engine that has been built till date, and it's the most popular one. What does it primarily? It is still spending 32% of its revenue is still being spent on improving that search engine. Why? Because all they want to do is to give out relevant pieces of information to you. They are not trying to do anything else. They are still trying to find out how fast can we do the e-discovery of the document, information, images, whatever you want to call it, in any digital form that has been kept on the earth. Can we give somebody the user the best way? So they are also still figuring out, everybody is still trying to figure this game. So it's like, all of us are in the room and there's an elephant and somebody is touching the tail of the elephant and saying, oh, this is elephant. Somebody touches the trunk and says, oh, this is elephant. That's what is happening with all of us. So we are just trying to organize information. We are just trying to do the retrieval part. And I was just hearing Mr. Gaurav speak about the case where, the maid was getting divorced. All that the lawyer wanted on her behalf was, can you give me some information? All you need to do is to organize information. That's it. At this time period, and he's quite well. He's 100% correct. Legal profession is all about finding anomalies, the loopholes in the system. How can we figure that out and find the intelligent part out there? So, my view, we are still trying to search the surface of the game. We are still trying to organize ourselves. So let me put it this way: we have just got up in the morning and we're just trying to organize ourselves even before we get the day start moving. That is what is happening in the world of technology as well. I mean, I'll give you another example. Let me give another example. There's so much talk about autonomous vehicles. Very good. Now there's an autonomous vehicle going down the road, and it's a very famous example that everybody quotes. The autonomous vehicle goes and hits, is going to about to hit an old lady or a young child. Whom should it save? If it hits somebody, who is liable? Me as the owner is liable. The autonomous vehicle maker is liable. The insurance company is liable. The person who designed the algorithm is liable. I don't know. Everything is so fuzzy. So we have still not understood what are we trying to do with this technology. Every technology, every program has an end goal. Do we have an end goal defined? We don't. I mean, let me give you another example. Warfare. The nature of warfare is changing. Okay. Is it fair that robots fight with human beings? That's also AI, right? An intelligent machine fighting with a human being. Is it fair enough? I don't know. That's an open-ended question. There are lots and lots and these. By the way, this is not nothing to do with technology. This is very much a legal human being's question. Is it fair enough for a machine to fight with a human? I mean, just imagine the disparities that would be created. Then anybody who has a better robot will be the king of the world. That's it. what the biggest kings on the earth or the most powerful kings of the earth that have ever existed have dreamt about will become, any country can become one. These are legal questions, these are ethical questions that we are still finding a dilemmas to answers to. So, when we will only, and I would agree with both the previous panelists, that we are just trying to organize information, retrieve them as early as possible in the best possible manner. That is what we are trying to, and that's quite correct. I mean, nobody can take a decision on my behalf. I will have to take that judgmental call. That call is mine. That conscience is mine. That is somebody. I mean, that is nature has given me the call. Whether I should hit the girl or I hit the lady, I don't know. I will perhaps, if I am driving, I'll go and hit myself. I'll go and hit the car. I will drive the car in such a manner that I save both of them and perhaps go and damage the car. Don't damage the car. That's the question. These are ethical questions. There are a lot of questions. I mean, we're still looking at the surface, not even surface, I would say. We're just trying to figure out. So it's all about right now, even in legal profession, in any profession, any problems that I've sorted out till now, it's all about getting information organized. That's it. Even in the legal field, it's the same thing. So there are projects, pilot projects that are being conducted, and they're also on the similar lines by the government themselves. That's the point that I would like to bring home from my side.
Yes, thank you, sir. Given your entire such vast experience you have rightly pointed out that we have so far seen that there are two ways we are using AI. First is to organize information, because we know legal profession has a bulk of information and we have to mine out information, cull information that is relevant to us. So maybe AI is positive in that. But yes, of course, AI raises many moral and ethical questions regarding legal responsibility, legal liability on what do we do, whether it is warfare, whether it is autonomous vehicles, whether it is in intellectual property rights. So that, of course, is the plus and the minus that we are going to see. So I would continue this conversation and move to Mr. Harjot Singh, who is joining us from Birmingham. Welcome, sir. And I would like to ask you to shed your light upon this theme. Where do you stand? How do you think AI and law intersect? Can it be practically done? What is your
Thank,
opinion?
thank you very much, Betray, for first of all for inviting me, and I'm very impressed with your panel because I think all of them raised very important questions. Rajesh ji mentioned how AI is at fault. For example, the tax. Gaurav, Gaurav rightly mentions, about the problems that AI cannot solve. For example, and I agree. Law would be the last forum, in terms of the application of AI, because if you want to go to a lawyer, just imagine, and would you like to just get an answer from a computer, or you would like to get a human touch? Because law is also about psychology, giving comfort to the client, speaking to the client, getting to the basics right. And Atulji is right, again, he made a very valid point about Google, because I was going to say that Google is the biggest example of AI working in today's society. I want to know, for example, for here in UK, where's the nearest COVID vaccine center? I'll get it in 2 minutes. Otherwise, I have to pick up a phone. In the old days, call the health services and get the answer. So AI is working. And coming to your topic, what are the potential, of AI in law? What we do here, I can tell you my experience, and because I'm advising a new startup, which I mentioned to you, and they're great bunch of youngsters, and they have come with this great idea of getting AI into law, medicine, and a lot of things. And because UK government is investing a lot in AI, and there are a lot of incentives. So coming back to the basics, there are two law softwares. For example, there's one called Leap and one called Osprey. Now, what these software does, and what is the benefit? So, taking the point what Rajesh ji mentioned, that AI has technical issues. So, if you don't go into that, because he's absolutely right, AI can never replace the role of an adjudicating officer. For example, in the previous days, income tax notice would be issued by somebody, who is an officer. But if GST notice is being issued by computer, which means AI is there, and it can never replace, because it can't, if the data is not corrected, uh, if the data is not properly entered, you can't get it right. So that's the basic fact. Now, on this point of what happens in leave, for example, which is very good example. And Gaurav, I looked at your website. It's very good. And this is something, if you can look into Leap or Osprey, you can get something into there. For example, big law firms, like we have a lot of contractual advisory work, a lot of litigation work, and we are all dependent upon the case management. So AI is really helping in the case management. For example, the case and the practice management. So you have to do a risk assessment of the client. Money laundering regulations are there. I was reading about it, that India is going to introduce how state agents have to have a regulatory duty in the coming days to act as a money laundering officer, compliance officer. So all those things. If, as a lawyer, if I'm doing it, for example, if I have to open a file, I have to check the source of funds, the money laundering. But if you've got a software, which is a case and practice management software, which is of course managed by AI, you can just put in the correct data, and you'll get the appropriate answers as per the regulation in time, and you're through. So this is a classic example. And then the second good point is legal accounting. Of course, the big firms in India, and the lawyers, and we in UK, we have a duty under the code of practice. You should have a proper account, and if there's a client account, it needs to be accounted for. So it really helps. The AI is really helping in the integrated legal accounting systems. Then again, the third issue, which I can see a lot of progress being made, and Gaurav, this is something which can come in India, of course, like automated workflows. So, for example, Ms. Lahiri, if I'm doing a case, I'm doing a very important employment case right now, and I can't discuss the details, but it's a corporate. It's against one of the biggest multinational corporations in the world. And now, what's happening in that case? The other side has top lawyers, but we are trying to manage the case, because here in UK you have to manage the case, and the powers are with the court, and it's very strict, very time bound. You can't get extensions, and if you get an extension, you can get you have to make an application. It's cost. It's huge cost to both the parties. Now, what AI is helping us is, when you put the case details in this software, it is automated workflow. So it tells you the deadlines, it flashes, and that is really helping in the case management. So, I'm just giving you small examples where even a small law firm can use the AI to manage their workflow better, to manage the timeline, and the automated workflow would help you. Like, for example, there's a you have to make a claim, so automatically when you get the defense, you put it in the system, and then you get a timeline. Oh, you have to do a response by this date. Okay, the disclosure is by this date. Okay, the client conference is this date. So you get a workflow. So this is something which I know in India it's moving great, but this is something, what we can see the advantage of AI. Of course, what Rajesh ji said, and Gaurav and Atul ji said, you cannot replace a human being with the AI, because of course you need a human being to input the data, because if the data is not right, trust me, it's never going to get right in AI, because you can't. And then, of course, so it's a great opportunity, I would say. AI is a great opportunity where the technology people can get together with the lawyers, and they can come up with innovative ideas. But the punchline is, you can never replace the human touch. A lawyer, apart from being a lawyer, in US, I went for a case, and they always, many clients would refer to you as a counselor. And if you go to the history, in US practice, the attorney, before attorney at law exam, they used to be called counselors, because you come to a counselor, they counsel you, they speak to you, and it's all about the human touch. So I don't think you can replace that, but AI is a great movement, and I think we need to catch up, because it will help in reducing the cost. It will help you in giving better client services to your client, so which means more revenue, more case management at your fingertips, and above all, it will give you a work doing direction, so you would know and you would be in control of the work. So thank you very much, Miss Lady. Those were my views about the basic issue that you raised.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So, to sum up what you say, it's like AI is good for administrative work. It can reduce workload, but it can never replace the human touch, the
Yes.
human element in law.
Yes, but again, Gaurav's website, like Pensive, I've gone through it. It's very good because, for example, SEC Online, it's very good. Rajesh ji and everybody would be using it. You can put, for example, I need a case law on right of privacy. You'll get all the judgments. Now, that is again, doing research is very good. Doing case management is very good. But you're right. You can never replace a human touch.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, moving forward with the discussion, I would invite Sneha ma'am, who is here with us today. Ma'am, you are a partner at a Sai Krishna Associate, so you deal with corporate on daily basis. I would like to know, like, do you agree with this that administratively does AI help you in any manner, or do you feel that there is this need for human touch? And how do you think law firms are progressing and practically applying AI every day?
Thank you, Bitpriya, for first of all inviting me. Thank you, DMilo. I think this is a great panel discussion on a very emerging topic. Um, to answer your question directly, I think AI has been something that we have been already applying for a significant amount of time now. It is already every single lawyer, every single law firm is involved in it, dealing with it, applying it on a daily basis. I think the legal databases that we have in the form of SEC Online, in the form of Manupatras, and in the form of all the other research websites that are available are somewhere or the other different forms of AI, applications of AI itself. Um, I think one or two key points that I would like to highlight in terms of how the implementation is based on how you can take the benefit of the implementation of AI, basically, as two or three key points which have emerged from everyone's conversations. One, AI is as good as the data set that the AI is working on. So the quality of the data set matters, the quality of the input matters, and that is why I think even the example that Gaurav gave about the case law research, that will always require human touch. So, and that will always require human ingenuity, because the outcome will always be dependent upon what the input is. To give you an example, um, if the question that I ask AI is, please show me all judgments dealing with right to privacy, I will get 200 judgments in India on that point. That is not going to help me. But if I nuance my question and make further filters by adding parameters like, please give me judgments with deal with right to privacy in the context of domestic abuse, that may further refine the research. So I think the two most important keys for having good implementation of AI will be, what is the data set on which it is working, and what is the input or the query or the frame in which it is being used. And as Atul sir said, I think the most important aspect is, what is the goal you want to achieve. uh, AI is as good as what uh, is the use that you want to make out of it. Ultimately, there are thousands and thousands of uses that you can make through use of AI technology. You have the ability to, reduce your own time spent in doing research. You have the ability of, refining your research to be able to get a particular outcome. You have the ability of automating certain tasks for which, there were humans used earlier, but that human intervention was possibly causing errors in the system. So, automating certain tasks which are already which are standard tasks, which don't require that much of detailed input. So I think my view is that we are already adopting and implementing AI in different forms in the legal field, whether it is by an independent lawyer or whether it is by a big law firm. Not only lawyers, but all their clients, all the corporates are also implementing AI in every possible way. It is just a matter now of identifying how to use AI based technologies. And I think the most important element would be training the lawyers and users of the technology, because the technology will only be as useful as a person who's trained to use it. I mean, it's as good as saying that not every driver on the road will be a race car winner or a race car champion. So the car will function equally well for somebody who wants to drive it on a or somebody who's a driver for the first day, or somebody who's a driver who's been driving for the last 10 to 20 years. But it depends upon an individual understanding the product and then realizing what is the use they want to make of the product and how good are they in terms of having learned how to use the product.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Priya, Honorable DG sir has joined. Kindly welcome the DG sir by giving the introduction to our eminent panelists as well.
Okay. So we have with us Honorable Mr. Justice Bhavar Singh sir, who is the Director General of Delhi Metropolitan Education and former judge of Allahabad High Court. So we are very honored that you joined us, and we always look forward to your blessings. And we are discussing today about harnessing the potential of artificial intelligence in law. And we are very, very honored to have you here with us today. So with this, I would like to move forward to the next aspect of this discussion about what, to just sum up what all the 5 panelists said. We spoke a little bit and to some extent about AI and the human element in it. So AI right now is being seen as a tool to reduce the workload, or maybe legal analytics for document automation, or maybe billing services, or maybe in some cases for intellectual property rights as well. But we have to consider what is the role of humans as lawyers, or even in judicial decision making. What kind of role does AI play? So, sir, firstly, I would like to invite Rajesh, sir, to tell us a little bit about what he feels is the conundrum here. Can AI replace the human element in law? According to Harjot, sir, that is not possible. What is your opinion?
The current level of technology evolution, it is not possible. I'm not sure, maybe Gaurav may be able to answer more accurately how the technology is developing in this field. But as of now, the current technology is only looking at patterns and trying to replicate a solution fitting to a similar patterns. So if there is a repetitive pattern, AI solutions can give answers, accurate answers. Say, for example, a traffic violation. You are in a highway, there is a traffic violation, you are jumping the signal. AI can capture this data, AI can process that you have violated it. There is concrete evidence, and the punishment for that violation is fixed as per law. So laws where there is mechanical application of, or mechanically adjudicate if there is a wrong. And if we can adduce 100% evidence on those kind of matters, which is possible. Technology can capture the images, technology can accurately tell you that you have violated, and room for adjudicating on a traffic violation is not much. It's constant. Any violator may get 500 rupees fine or 1000 rupees fine or a one-day punishment. Those kind of applications AI may work, but AI may not work in a complicated issues like, say, for example, now yesterday we have a new rule on platforms relating to speech rights, or what platform should do in relation to fundamental rights. There are various variables to look at before adjudicating on whether somebody has violated the speech right or whether exceeded the speech right. I can give you one example. UK police, Harjot may be able to help me. What I understand that they developed a system called HART, HART, try to prevent crime was the intent. They tried to map the criminals across London. They looked at variables why who are becoming a criminal. Entire data set is fed to this algorithm. The software coder has created a solution based on it. It is called HEART. It is still applied in UK police, I believe. But the outcome was different. The outcome ended up saying that blacks are more likely to be criminals. It can happen because what the software solution is doing or the algorithm is doing is they are just feeding into various data sets that they got. Based on that data set, they have come out with a conclusion. So assume that there are 1,000 criminals data they have collected, out of which 800 are blacks. The algorithm will naturally say that blacks are more likely to be criminals. And this outcome create perpetuity. So what law is intending to do is to prevent bias, provide justice. But situations like these, it is perpetuating bias, perpetuating wrong treatment against one sect of a community. So if application of AI on larger adjudicative systems or large investigative systems, unless the code is so perfect, and as Sneha suggested, if the data set is not accurate, it can have disastrous outcomes. It may end up in perpetual bias. It may end up in perpetuating injustice. It may not fit to situations where there is an adversarial system of jurisprudence, where our endeavor is to deliver justice, not applying a rule or B rule. A rule and B rule is applied to a context. A judge is looking into, Honorable Justice is here, so he may tell us, the endeavor is to deliver justice. It's not mere mechanical application of a rule. And it is contextual. The same judge on probably even on more or less similar fact situation, depending on other parameters, the judgment can vary, outcome can vary, and even conclusions can vary. It's a human science. It's not mechanical application of certain rules. So there are limitations of applying AI in deep practice of law, but situations like traffic jam or traffic violations or mere administrative rules, or where the variables are minimum and the precedents are set and there is no need to have an evolution of principles or justice, probably AI can work.
All right, sir. So AI depends upon repetitive patterns and discretion based.
Exactly, repetitive patterns and where variables are irrelevant or it's not significant enough, and the outcomes are constant, or the what you want to deliver is constant. So in case of a traffic violation, most of the situation judges will uniformly charge 500 rupees as fine. You can automate this using AI, but not deciding on somebody has violated the speech rights.
All right. Yes. Coming to Gaurav, sir. Sir, Rajesh spoke about bias. And even Sneha ma'am said that your AI is as good as the data. So do you think, like in automated algorithm-based systems, there is a scope of bias, and particularly which is very important when we are talking about legal field, where we need a lack of bias in making decisions or even searching for decisions or even researching for anything which leads to judicial decisions. So what would you say for that?
Yeah. So completely agree that bias will definitely seep into the system. And I'm like, in a very simple way, I tell you, for an AI algorithm, having an accuracy of 99% is also a miraculous thing. Like having an algorithm which is having an accuracy of 99%. But let's assume that if there are 100 people, it convicts one, what you can say, innocent person every time. Like let's assume that there's an algorithm which is 99% right. It will ensure that once it, what you can say, convicts somebody who is innocent. And I believe that nobody would want that such a system to happen. So biasing would definitely happen. And the fact is that the whole idea of law is to ensure that people who are innocent should not be charged. It's the whole idea is to give opportunity to people. The whole idea is if there is even a single iota of doubt that the person has not done anything wrong or it has been wrongly being convicted, he should be given an opportunity and go scot-free. Algorithms will never do it. It'll never ever do it. Algorithm will always see that if there is a probability that this person is wrong. So the whole point is algorithm works on probability. It never works on like accuracy. And in 99% probability also doesn't solve the problem. And biases will definitely go down. I don't know how the whole education system or the judicial system work, but there must be, we all know that we all are opinionated. Certain kind of people have biasing against certain kind of system, and that must have prevailed into the data. So, and to be frank enough, so how do I see, and sir has already mentioned it, is that there are four kind of, like what you can say, there are four kind of problems where there is an application of AI. First thing sir has already said is where there are rule-based issues, or the mechanical issues that he said, the traffic violation or taxation issues. That's very simple to do, and that definitely AI will, what you can say, automate it, and it has automated also to a very large extent. Many people will say it is a subset of AI, which is like a robotic process automation, RPA, but there are multiple companies which are doing it, and it has been considerably automated. Second becomes a pattern, what you can say, pattern finding kind of a problem, which is also an easier problem to do, like clause extraction out of contracts or certain liability extraction out of contracts. So all those problems will also be done by AI, and it would be very efficiently done. Third would be where the AI becomes an interface between human and legal system, legal structures. So for example, if I am a common person and I don't understand the legal literature, so how do I interact with that system? So there AI can definitely come and be one of the interfaces where it facilitates me to understand the legal literature efficiently. That becomes higher in the complexity, and obviously that will also be done in a very due course of time. And the fourth one becomes where the AI is able to build its own domain intelligence. Now that is the most difficult thing, that is the most challenging thing, and that's where the, what is the complexity becomes more and more difficult, is because that's where what you're trying. So the fact is that even if you say, let's take an example of a student who is taught law. So you teach him all the things to see that what is consistent, but also innovate on it. You don't make people lawyer just to do what has written in law books. You teach them that, okay, you read all this, you understand all this, but think where you can innovate. The moment how AI would start having that kind of an, what you can say, intellect, where it is able to be consistent with the historical data as well as innovative with the newer scenarios, would be what you can say, challenging place to be, and that would be the most complex problem to solve.
Okay, thank you, sir. So yes, domain intelligence is very important, and I would like to come to Atul, sir. So Atul, sir, Gaurav says that innovation and thinking ability is still missing when it comes to using AI-based software in terms of judicial decision making or in terms of using it for legal things. So I would like to ask you something about what you in the very beginning said about liability, tortious liability, like cases of self-driving cars and about automated weapons and warfare. So in that case, where in such liabilities also judicial discretion, if they are ever to make a decision, judicial discretion, human element is very important in deciding what is right, what is not. What do you think AI does, particularly in data and security related issues also, and for all these tortious liability cases as well? What is your opinion on that?
So let me answer this question with some numbers, and I'll take forward from what Gaurav has just said a few minutes back. And so did Mr. Rajesh regarding the biased policing. So let me give a few more examples on the biases and in and around data. So around 20% of AI scholarships have females. Around only 18% of authors at leading conferences on AI are females, and only about 15 and to 10% research staff in Facebook and Google are female. Now I have built up a system based on these data points, which is going to evaluate people's CV. Now just imagine what happens. I am going to put in your CV. Where would your CV fall? Acceptance or rejection? And where would somebody else's, any of the male colleagues of yours CV fall? Acceptance or rejection? That's one point. Let me give another example. There's a large set of people called as transgenders in our society. Now, should they be biased? Should we be biased against them? Because see, any system that is built by human beings. Please understand this point. We have biases in our mind, therefore we build up systems which are biased. If you are not being judicious with yourself, you cannot build up a judicial system. It's a very, very simple fact. Why should I discriminate against a transgender? Tell me a reason. Give me a reason. Just because that person speaks a bit loudly, is aggressively dressed, behaves in a particular form which is not conforming to the two genders that either one of us belongs to. Does that make that person anyway, you know, illegal, immoral, whatever word you wish to add to? I mean, in your life, and you can keep on adding. Immigration decisions. This has happened, by the way. This has happened to the case in New Zealand, where a lady from Scotland was rejected because of the fact and the system they had implemented, and they had to again take back that implementation. Where because the system could not understand what the lady was trying to say in her dialect, so they said that this person cannot fit into our society and therefore reject the application. So there are multiple such cases across the world. As far as why am I bringing out these points? Because you see, ultimately everything is for human beings. The systems are for human beings. Human beings are not for systems. It's a very simple rule of life. We often tend to overlook the processes and systems become so important that we tend to overlook the human beings themselves. And let me tell you, all of us are biased. And I always, whenever there is a moral dilemma, you can always go back to the very famous book in India, that is the Gita. And the Gita also says that even Krishna was not, he also had a bias when he was provoked by Bhishma. He was neutral in the war. He was neutral. He was standing neutral. He said, I will not fight for any one of your clans. But when the war took place and when he was provoked by Bhishma, even he took out the wheel of the chariot and he ran towards. See, we all are human beings. We will have our biases. I like that very famous Bond movie. I always refer to Bond movies whenever I'm speaking. I love the character, by the way. So this in one of the Bond movies, Tomorrow Never Dies. Oh, sorry, Die Another Day. Bond visits Cuba and he says that he's looking out for a terrorist. So the person he's meeting, he says, one man terrorist, another man tourist. So what is a terrorist for Bond is not is a tourist for the other Cuban. So this is what life is all about. What is free speech? Let me ask, you are the judicial people out there. We just spoke about free speech. Okay, fine, very good, excellent. Free speech. I'm going to abuse a set of people out there and call them all kind of names. Would it be acceptable? Let me take your name. Would you accept it if I was to say you are not a correct person, you are immoral, you are XYZ, and would you accept it? You would put cases on me and make me go blind like anything. You would break my back like anything. Why? Because my free speech ends as soon as I begin to abuse you. Free speech is like freedom of speech for what? What is this freedom of speech? We have a right. We all know our rights, but have any one of us read our duties that has been written in the Constitution of India? We all know Article 19 deals with this, Article 21 deals with that. Everybody knows everything on the earth. Now, even my 7-year-old daughter knows that there is Article 21 and Article 19. Because that is what is going on in that news entirety. Even she is aware of it. But let me ask you, how many of us have read our duties written in the Constitution? You have a right, provided you have done your duty. The duty follows the right. The rights don't follow the duty. The biases that we have already got in our mind, we cannot help. And we will be what we are. I cannot help it out. You cannot help it out. I mean, the two countries across our border, China and Pakistan, in our minds, they are the enemy. We cannot help it out. We can't. Right. So biases will exist. It is existed. It will continue to exist. So when we are building up any system, we'll have to see how much biases can we control. That's the max we can do by adding more data points, more use cases. That's it. Can't help it out. We just cannot escape this world. We are living in a real world, not in a vacuum. That's the point that I want to highlight.
Yes, coming to Harjot sir, what Atul sir just said, that human bias will reflect in the automation that we do. Now, AI is to ease human beings' function, it's not to replace them. I would, taking forward the concept of bias, I would like to ask you and come back to what you originally stated about judicial decision making. We have with us DJ sir. He has been in judiciary for major, such so many long years that I think most of us were just getting born when Sir was starting his judicial career. So it has been as long and even longer. So in his presence, I'll ask you, what do you think? Bias, judicial decision making, and artificial intelligence. What is your take on that?
Uh, I think, Ms. Larry, that's a wonderful question, and again, I would pick up from where Atulji left, and I think Rajesh set the tone of the discussion. Let me start from Hart, because he mentioned about Hart, and you are right. Because Hart was challenged on the basis of discrimination. So there's a big argument, because what happened in Hart was the police designed a software where they can tell whether someone under arrest can be safely released on bail, or whether they will commit another crime as soon as they are out of custody. So HART is basically the harm assessment risk tool, HART, HART. So that claims to be a database approach to predict whether an arrested person will reoffend. Now that's very critical, because but again, this program, although you will be surprised, was developed by the police force own engineers in collaboration with academics from Cambridge University, and it had 5 years of data, of people taken in custody. But again, what Atulji just said, how can you replace that, and the ethical issues, and now coming back to this system. So what happens in Heart? For example, if somebody is arrested, and Rajesh ji was right, it all depends on the data. And what Atulji said, gave a classic example of a CV, 18% female CV on 20%, 80% male. And, there'll be apparent bias, there'll be apparent discrimination, because that is what the data the machine has got. And so, so that data couldn't be implemented across UK. The reason being, it was challenged because of discrimination. Because in here we've got Equality Act 2010, and Equality Act is very strong. So if you breach the provisions of Equality Act, the government has to pay compensation. So again, a big argument came that how can a computer predict whether I'm going to commit the crime again or not? And again, you made a very good, you asked for a very good example, Honorable Justice Bhavar Singh Saab. Now I've appeared before him many years back, about I would say 16, 17 years back, and he's exceptionally great judge. He was sitting on the criminal side. He was one of the best criminal judges I've come across. And so how can you replace a person like him with the AI? You can't, because in judiciary, in law, it's always discretion. You would hear the facts, you would decide whether there's a risk, whether he would breach the bail conditions, whether he would try to confront with the prosecution witnesses, whether he would destroy a prosecution case. And that role can only be taken by a judge. I can give you example. I appeared in one of the very famous extradition cases in the European courts. I assisted in that case. And the whole case, like yesterday, there was a judgment on Nirav Modi. Now, how can a case like Nirav Modi be decided by somebody, by a machine? You can't, because it has to be decided by a judge who would apply discretion. So I did not appear in that, but I'm just giving you an example. I appeared many years back in another extradition case, and I still remember the whole judgment was based on the documentations by the Indian government, by the clients, and the judges in the end applied discretion and said, look, okay, we allow the extradition subject to this conditions. it was laid down. Now judges apply discretion, and that brings human touch to the law, because law is, what Gaurav also said, it has to be innovative. Law is innovative. We became lawyers because we interpret law, and judges are there to get a new interpretation and get a new judgments. That's why even in 2020, 2021, we get new judgments. And to sum up, I would say, I think, AI is great. What I said before, for case management, for court management, I think we should have a discussion about how AI can help with the court management and the backlog management. With India having so many backlogs of hundreds and thousands of cases, and with PM Modi's approach of ease of doing business, I think the time has come where, and I'm sure Honorable Justice Bhavar Singh Saab would listen to my concerns. The time has come when, in India we need strong court management and case management systems, and that can be assisted by AI. Where a judge can look into a file and see, hang on, there are 10 adjournment or 5 adjournment, no more adjournment granted. Any other pleadings, there would be a strikeout proceedings, like it happens here. If Ms. Lahiri, I'm doing adjournment again, there comes a time where there would be automated message to say, the next hearing, if you don't comply, there'll be a strikeout procedure, which means the case finishes. So, I think that is where we can take AI, but still that is controlled by a human being who's a judge, who can apply discretion, and who can say, hang on, let them give one more opportunity. So, justice is not prejudice. So, I agree, but with
All
Atulji and Rajesh, and I take it from there. Sir, Pranam.
right.
Very
A pleasure.
nice.
Yes, a pleasure to see you after many, many years, sir.
My compliments to your observations.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Indeed, they are very practical. And let me add upon them that an American judge observed that facts of two cases can never be similar. So unless there are accurately similar facts, the machines can never help a judge.
Yes, sir.
This is one thing. Secondly, sorry, as you observed, sometimes judge has to levy many terms and many conditions. These conditions are evolved by the judge's mind out of the facts of the case before him. The machines can never evolve those terms and conditions. So it would indeed be very difficult, and Mr. Rajesh ji also said that it will be extremely difficult with the level of the infrastructure of the AI presently available with us to help the judge to decide a case. Because when machine cannot do itself, the judge will also not be getting the same help which he is expecting for. What I am of the opinion more that instead of helping the judges, the AI infrastructure will help the litigants most. How? That the decisions of the cases decided by the Supreme Court or the High Court in the past may be configured in the computer, and when a litigant would try to test it, that what will be the fate of his or her case, he can configure his own facts. And then a result would come whether you are going to win the case or you are going to lose the case. That may help the litigant most. And with this result coming out of the machine, the litigants will think 100 times before filing a petition. So that way, this AI can be helpful to the judges, but it cannot decide the cases. It cannot emerge out with the decisions for helping the judges. But certainly, it can help the litigants because it is my experience, and it must be all of your experience also, that if not 50%, at least 40%, or somewhere between 30 to 40% cases are frivolous. Such frivolous cases are usually and invariably filed before the court just to test the luck of the litigant or the opponent or oneself, and to try to test the talent of the judge and the courts. So it usually happens that machine can never replace judges, but machines can never replace the lawyers. They will certainly help them to a certain extent. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So taking forward what Honorable DG sir said, I come to Sneha ma'am, and because we are nearly about out of time and ma'am also has to leave, I would like to ask you ma'am, what do you think is the future sustainable approach in using AI? What is your vision? What do you think can happen?
I think DG Sir Justice Singh has put it very beautifully that the future will be that AI-based systems will help the judiciary, will help the bar. It will also help the litigant. They will not provide answers in terms of what could be a judgment, writing a judgment, providing answers to our research, but they are definitely tools which will help us make our manage our time in such a way that we will be able to focus more on tasks which require our attention, as opposed to focusing on tasks which could be managed by AI-based systems. So, for example, like Mr. Harjot also said, case management is an issue which I think a lot of times lawyers skip deadlines and then they have to end up working at the last moment because their diary was not kept properly, or their diary was lost, or the system on which they had kept their dates got misplaced. So I think if you have AI systems helping in case management, that would be very beneficial in terms of what the future is in terms of uses of AI in the legal industry.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So with this, I think we have drawing towards an end. I would like to sum up what is my understanding of all what the panelists have said. So AI can, yes, be used as a tool to assist the legal fraternity, particularly the litigants and the lawyers, not necessarily the judges in terms of judicial decision making, but yes, they can help us become more efficient. Let's say in the terms of caseload mining, maybe in terms of research, case analytics, and just general gathering of information that we see where we face troubles. Maybe it's just due diligence. And we have to, as far as the future goes, like Rajesh sir said, not at this stage, we cannot completely integrate artificial intelligence into the legal future, but we can definitely look forward for it to make our lives easier. But if it has to at least replace, I think in legal fraternity, it will be the last place where AI is truly automatizing the legal work altogether. So with this, I think we are moving to the end of our session. And I would invite Shri Durga ma'am, the co-convener of this conference and the driving force behind inviting all the panelists to this particular event, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Priya. It is my honor to give the vote of thanks for this esteemed panel. It has been such a very good opportunity for us, the faculties, and also for our students to be a part of such a important panel discussion where experienced people have spoken relevant things regarding the conference topic. So firstly, I would like to express my gratitude towards all the esteemed panelists, Mr. Rajesh Velakat, Mr. Atul Tripathi, Mr. Harjot Singh, Ms. Neha Jain, Mr. Gaurav, for attending, for coming for this, for sparing your valuable time, and for becoming a part of the panel discussion. And It is our pleasure to have hosted you. Secondly, I would like to extend my immense gratitude to Honorable Justice Bhavar Singh, our Director General, for always providing us sufficient guidance throughout the conference. Every time we used to go and speak to him and go and ask his opinion and consent, and also for becoming a part of this panel discussion, and thereby value adding to this panel discussion. Thirdly, I also would like to express my gratitude to Honorable Director, Dr. Ravikant Swami sir, who has been our constant guiding force. I also like to express my gratitude to our Head of Academics, Bhavish Gupta sir, who always guided and supported and always encouraged us to do things beyond what we thought is possible. I also would like to express my gratitude to all my faculty colleagues and all the student coordinators, without whom this session would have been impossible, for all your coordination and for all your support. And last but not the least, I would like to express my gratitude to the wonderful audience and who must have really benefited out of this session. And also to the convener, Ms. Betpriya Lahari, for moderating the discussion so well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. With this, we close this panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too.
I would request Navjot ma'am to stop the live stream. Thank you.